Hello, I'm Kyla Press, and today I will be talking about the photographer Ansel Easton Adams. I feel that this quote really sums up Ansel Adams' work. He was a photographer and an environmentalist, which really came into view with his work. This quote, that was written by William Neal, who is the person photographed to the left of Ansel Adams. Ansel Adams had an eye for capturing sharp images of landscapes, especially the work from Yosemite, which he is best known for. Adams was born in 1902 in San Francisco, California. He was an only child to his older parents, Charles Hitchcock Adams and Olive Bray. Adam had taught himself to play piano at the age of 12, which really became his passion as he grew older. Around the 1920s, Adams had intended for his career to be in piano, which ultimately was replaced by photography. This quote, taken from the official Ansel Adams website, states, quote, "Although he ultimately gave up music for photography, the piano brought substance, discipline, and structure to his frustrating and erratic youth. Moreover, the careful training in exacting craft required of a musician profoundly informed his visual artistry, as well as his influential writings and teachings on photography." End quote. Although his photographic passion got started when he was still young, he enjoyed exploring around the area in which he lived. Nothing huge really started until around 1922. That's when Adams' work was first published, as seen in the Sierra Club. Here they published not only his photographs, but also some writings done by him. Adams had mainly used a Kodak No. 1 box brownie camera for his photographs. Later, around 1932, Adams had become part of the photography group F64. This group was based in San Francisco and featured other photographers such as Edward Weston. Weston and Adams were close friends and they learned from each other. Adams was able to combine two of his favorite things while working with photography. Photography was a huge part of his life, and so was nature. He was even elected as the defender of Yosemite in 1934. This is why his environmental photographs are so important. They really did help conserve the national parks. Here is a quote from Adams himself. "The camera makes the image record. The control of that record lies in the selection by the photographer and his understanding of the photographic process. At his command, he achieves the expression of visualization through his technique, aesthetic, intellectual, and mechanical." Here's one of Adams' photographs from his Yosemite collection. This photograph has a great backstory to it. Rose and Driftwood was written on Ansel Adams' official website, and the description given states, "My mother proudly brought me a large pale pink rose from our garden," wrote Adams, "and I immediately wanted to photograph it, but I could not find an appropriate background. I finally remembered a piece of weathered plywood picked up at a nearby Baker Beach." He balanced the board on two pillows on a table under a large north-facing window and made his exposure using the light. These two photographs are more from his Yosemite collection. This is really what made him popular. Adams' work featured extremely high quality. They all shared a large depth field. Most of his photographs were edited by him, using the different methods of darkroom tricks that he had learned through the years. This is one of Adams' early work. As you can see, he was always into photographing what was outside. He enjoyed being surrounded by nature. As for this photograph, Yosemite was a passion for Ansel, which is why so many of the photographs here are from that location. It is easy to see how his amazing work, when this photograph was taken, his work only became better as his career continued on through the years. This is a very early photograph by Adams, one in which many people may not have seen before. The original negative was dated around 1948, and it is unknown if the girl featured was a friend or just someone that he had photographed once. As for this photograph, it is around the same period as the one previous, This photograph is captivating because the lighting doesn't wash out the photo at all, and it doesn't seem to be consumed in all shadow. This is a great balance, and surprisingly, it is very different compared to the rest of his nature work. This breathtaking photograph is as well one like the one on the following slide. They are both from Yosemite. Although this photograph is in black and white, the rainbow can still be seen. This image has a fairy tale-like feeling to it. This is one of his most well-known photographs. When I had first heard about Ansel Adams and started to look up his work, this was one of the photographs that I had first found. Hands is another one of Ansel's first photographs of when his career began to take off. Even though you can still see the extreme depth field in the photograph, everything in his photograph is sharp and in focus. Much like the previous image, this one holds great lighting and a large depth field. It looks like it may have been taken in a place of worship that Ansel had found. Another thing that Ansel Adams had enjoyed photographing seemed to be water. In other images that he had done, it was visible that moving water had captured his attention, such as this image seen here. The negative taken for this photograph is dated around 1932, which means that it was most likely taken while he was part of Group F-64. This photograph was part of the images that the Sierra Club had featured, and a quote taken from the official Ansel Adams website talks about the tree, stating, quote, "Since Adams first photographed the tree, age has taken toll and it succumbed to fire in recent years. However, the towering cliffs between Bridal Veil Fall and Cathedral Spires that lurk in the mist behind the oak in this photograph remain as solid as ever." End quote. These three images are part of Adams' Yosemite Special Edition photographs. Although this photograph is truly beautiful, scholars from the Ansel Adams website claim that it was one of his least popular photographs. This photograph was taken of a lake while Adams was in the Sierra Club. He teamed up with other members to protest a road being made. Their efforts had no real effect. The government still placed a road there, and it is what Ansel wrote as a Tenaya tragedy. The beauty in this photograph is the lighting, as well as the clouds. There are no blurry spots, and everything is in focus. Much like Ansel Adams' other work, this is still captivating as ever. For Now Fall features more water, showing what Adams had also enjoyed photographing. Surprisingly, it also resembles a photograph shown previously that featured the rainbow, although I assure you they are two different photographs. Now for Ansel Adams' significance. As for Adams' significance, he was a well-known environmentalist, and this was seen in almost all of his work. He had also created his own tricks to make his photographs truly unique, which is also why he didn't use color at all. He enjoyed being able to develop his photographs the way that he wanted to, and only the way that he wanted to. He was a self-taught photographer. He was a self-taught photographer and mainly focused on the environmental side of photography. He used straight photography, meaning that everything was always in focus and extremely sharp. He captured landmarks the way that he saw them, and he never really followed the trends of photography. He followed his own passions. Lastly, he had helped conserve national parks and immortalize what they had looked like years prior to this generation. And that concludes my project done on Ansel Adams.